I have kind of a question for you to ponder, reflect, kind of sit with, and see what comes up for you. And then I'm going to give you some context with the question, but what if we reframed how we look at the ego? So most of us, I would say most of society, and that's a big assumption I'm making, looks at the ego through the lens of negative. It is bad. We shouldn't be, for example, egotistical. So instead of looking at the ego as bad, because our ego is a part of us, and for each of us, we have a different ego, and our ego is our conditioned self. And what I mean by conditioned self, it's those unconscious beliefs and patterns, programming, and behaviors we have in order to survive. And we created those conditions, those programmings, those patterns, those beliefs, most of them early in our life, based on the things that happened to us and based on the experiences that we had and the perspective that we took on. And so therefore we created kind of programming or patterning in order to say the world works like this. This is how I see the world working. So therefore I need to be like this in order to survive. So if that was the case, would our ego be considered bad? And could we look at it instead through a lens of compassion, understanding, because what it knew then, what it experienced then was all that it did know. And most likely, if you re-experience that situation, that experience again, knowing what you knew then, you'd probably create the same pattern. So can you look at the ego from the lens of acceptance, of understanding, of compassion, and really hold the ego in a sense of that kind of, again, acceptance, understanding, compassion, hold it with compassion, and realize you don't have to live there. And so if you let go of judging the ego, how might things change in your life? How might things shift? So again, the question I want you to ponder is looking at, or maybe the statement is, can we look at the ego from a different lens? Can we reframe, not refrain, but reframe, so changing the frame of how we look at the ego, and therefore how might that change our perspective, our life, and our reality? So ponder that. Let me know in the comments what you think.